Following the Brexit referendum in 2016, Ana Hernandez saw the need to create the Brexpats in Spain Association in order to help all British residents on the Costa del Sol. Since then, British citizens have not been able to plan their futures, as still today there is no resolution for the process. Spain has the highest number of British residents of any country in the European Union. There are more than 300,000 living here. In Mijas, there are around 11,000. We have met with a group of British citizens who, years ago, chose to live in Spain. They are in a situation of uncertainty since the Brexit process began, which still remains unsolved. Members of Brexpats in Spain speak about their concerns and how they are feeling during these uncertain times.
Okay, so just to give a brief introduction, it's been over 3 years now that we have been living with limited information, is all I can say, to sensibly plan for our futures. Many of us were not even allowed to vote in the referendum, and many others that did had no idea of how we, the British immigrants in Spain, would be affected. I'm fed up hearing, but you live in the sunshine. Yes, beautiful, isn't it? Spending your days by the pool or on the beach, so what's your worry? And that's why I decided we need to spell out our worries, and hence the reason for this video. Spain has the highest number of British residing in any EU country, more than 300,000 British here. And they're not just pensioners, but they're families with children at schools here, businesses owned by British residents, other workers, and obviously self-employed. Those working cross-border in Gibraltar perhaps, or other EU countries, and every one of us will be affected. And those effects will be suffered by Spain, with full support of the Mijas PSOE, the local council here, and the Foreigners Department of Mijas Town Hall. I've invited a few of our 8,000 plus members in our Brexpats in Spain Association to do just that, to come along to explain what Brexit will mean to them and how the now likely no deal presents such a worry for them. None of them are primed, I hasten to add. They're speaking from the heart, and I hope this will at least serve to educate some of those who think our lives here are unaffected and will be unaffected by Brexit. And at best, perhaps, let's hope to educate those politicians who also seem to think the same. We've been held to ransom as bargaining chips for too long. The UK government and its people need to start showing compassion for us and listen today to a very small cross-section representing the 300,000 British that are registered as living in Spain.
We asked Ana Hernandez herself and members of Brexpats in Spain to tell us about their backgrounds and to offer a general evaluation of how they consider Brexit would affect them.
I came to Spain originally in the 1970s, in fact to Tenerife in the Canary Islands, where I met and then subsequently married my ex-husband. I then separated from him, went back to the United Kingdom, continued my career as university lecturer, waited for my daughter to finish school, and then I came to live on the Costa del Sol, where I had already bought a holiday home. So here on the Costa del Sol I've been 20 years, on Spanish territory, let's say, for 35 years. What does Brexit mean to me as a resident in Spain? Well, because now I'm not in full-time employment, it's rather difficult. I suppose I qualify as a pensioner, and if the S1 scheme is stopped by the UK, I would not have access to state healthcare. Touch wood, I don't need it as yet, but you never know, as one gets older you do need it. Apart from that, I suppose it's my whole lifestyle would have to change. I have nowhere to go. This is my home. I'm as much Spanish as I am English, to be truthful. My daughter is here. We are established here. I have nowhere to go. I can't say any more than that. Well, am I going to become a refugee of my own country? I mean, I can't explain that. I really can't.
Glenn Emerton is a member of Brexpats in Spain, and he and his wife retired to the Costa del Sol in 2007.
My wife and I purchased our holiday home here in Mijas Costa in 2002. In 2007 we retired here and enjoyed our life here in Spain ever since. We came here because we holidayed here a lot. We could come here because we were members of the European Union, and this is where I want to stay and I want to spend the rest of my life. Well, we don't actually know how Brexit's going to affect us at the moment, to be serious. We live in a bubble of uncertainty. I'm concerned especially about my healthcare here, which is provided via the S1 system. If that were to finish, then I don't know where we would go and what we would do. So until that bubble bursts at the end of October, we don't know where we're going and what we're doing. So my problem is uncertainty, complete uncertainty.
Steve Gilbert moved to Spain in 1992. He has worked here for 26 years, having recently retired.
I lost my best friend to cancer in 1992, so decided to change my life. I sold up everything in the UK. I came to Spain. I've been resident in Spain and working for 26 years now, retiring just recently. What worries me most about Brexit is that my mother's been resident here for 19 years, and without a deal, she will lose the right to health care. She's 89 years old, has a number of pre-existing conditions, so she won't be able to get any health insurance. Also, freedom of movement. We will lose our freedom of movement, not just myself, but my children and my grandchildren. There's so many disadvantages. The economy now, the pound is weaker, which makes it more expensive to British people to come on holiday to Spain. The Spanish farmers are going to have a problem exporting goods to the UK, perishable goods, because of the problems with the customs with the no deal. It's total madness.
Lisa Burgess Folly, restaurant owner in La Cala, has a particularly touching story to tell, and as she herself states, she is not alone in her situation.
I'm a British European. I moved here in 2016 with my partner, and we opened a restaurant here, a lovely French restaurant here in La Cala. I've thoroughly enjoyed living here. But I became exceptionally ill last September. I was diagnosed with cancer, 15 tumours, and my life has been a big uphill struggle. I've just completed 8 months of chemo, and now with what's happening with Brexit, it's making a stressful situation even worse because there is so much confusion about my health care. I'm hearing one thing one day and one thing the next, and I don't know what's going to happen to me. So I'm fighting cancer, but I'm also trying to fight Brexit. And Boris Johnson, I've written to him, he hasn't even replied to me, okay, about my situation. And other people, I know a lot of other sick people in Europe. What about the Spanish people in Britain? What about them? You know, sign the bloody royal decree. You know, help the forgotten people. This is the story. We are forgotten about in Europe. My British passport is going to be almost useless, and I'm embarrassed by my country and the way it's behaving. And I want action. I want either a government of national unity with people who are sensible. I don't want a government that is voted in by 92,000 people. We are 66 million people in Britain. We need to do something about this. Boris Johnson does not have a mandate to run the country. We need a people's vote or a general election so ordinary people like me can speak. I voted in the European elections, and you know what? My vote didn't even arrive. That's how bad our government is. So wake up and smell the roses and help people like me. It's the truth.
Judy Fulmer owns property here and has done for almost 40 years now, since 1918. Judy is concerned about the healthcare situation if Brexit goes forward.
My name is Judy Fulmer. I've owned property in Spain since 1980, mainly in the north of Spain. And when my husband and I wanted to take early retirement in the year 2000, we moved down here and bought a house. We've been living here ever since and absolutely love it. My mother, who is very frail and is now 92 years of age, was going blind, and she's also deaf, and has a number of medical problems, so couldn't live on her own in England. So I brought her out to live with me in 2015, and where she's still very happy, living a life under the sun, but still very sick. I worry greatly what's going to happen to her after Brexit. If they stop all the health care, then we will just have to pay, which is something which will be very hard for us to do, but my mother's health comes first. At the moment we own our own property here, we own our own house, which is very nice. If we do require to go back to England, it's going to cause a property drop over here. If the Brits all need to go back, there is there's a huge number of residents over here, in fact, along the coast. That's going to affect the property prices no end along here. If we all have to sell up our properties at one time, or if we can sell our properties, which is doubtful, we can't afford to buy another property in England now. The prices there are so high compared to here. It will mean a disaster to us one way or the other.
Steve Gilbert explained his view on the situation in a little more detail.
The problem with the situation we have, it was a very close thing. Of the people that decided, not everybody voted, but 17.4 million people in the UK voted to leave. Out of a population of 65, that's 37 million who didn't vote to leave. The result was 48-52. It's very close. If I wanted to change the rules in the golf club, I would need 70%. So to carry through a referendum on such a small majority is not logical. In Switzerland, they have just recently overturned a referendum because the people weren't properly informed. There were many lies told by the Leave Party, extra money for the National Health Service, lots of lies which have now proved to be false. So really, the whole thing is a total mess.
When asked what they would like the British government to do and what they would say to them if they could, the members of Brexpats in Spain had different but at the same time quite similar things to say.
Okay, well, what we would like the British government to do is, in the first instance, remember that we actually do exist. That would have to be the biggest issue. And secondly, to offer the same support to us that Spain has done. I mean, we are so lucky to be living in Spain compared to, I think, the Spanish perhaps in the UK, and we support them as well. Obviously, it has to be reciprocated. But the United Kingdom, please get together. Mr. Boris Johnson, please put pen to paper and sign the royal decree that Pedro Sanchez, the Prime Minister of Spain, presented on March the 1st. And at least we shall then have until July 2021, in the event of a no deal, to live our lives fairly routinely as we have done in the past, and to plan for our future.
What I want the British government to do, I'd like Mr Johnson to get hold of the Spanish government and sign that piece of paper that was produced by the Spanish government on the 1st of March, at least giving us some certainty of our lives here until 2021.
The British government now are moving to the right to try and capture the votes of the people who want to leave, the UKIP party and the right wing. The only way to sort this mess out is to go back to the people and say, look, this is what the deal we have is now. Do we want to take this deal, or do we want to cancel Article 50? Because until you ask the people again, there's all going to be blaming. Yes, but yeah, we have to have an election anyway, because the Prime Minister has a majority of one, and with a majority of one, 10 of which are the DUP, you can't govern the country. You need a majority to govern the country, and a majority of one, and many of the Conservatives are anti-Brexit. The country cannot be governed by a Prime Minister with a majority of one. Similar to the problem we have in Spain, Pedro Sanchez needs to have a majority to govern Spain, and the Prime Minister we have in the UK has got a majority of one. It can't do anything. We have to have a general election.
I don't know on the first instance whether I'm going to survive cancer. I won't know that till the end of November. So who knows whether Boris Johnson, with his current stance, says we're going to crash out at the end of October. So even if I haven't survived cancer, I don't know where I'm going to get my treatment from. I have no idea. Is it going to be England? Is it going to be Spain? Nobody has any plan. They have no plan even when it comes to crashing out. There's no certainty. This whole thing is just one chaotic mess.
I would like the UK government to revoke Article 50 immediately, because they have no plan to take us forward. We are just going to drop out of the EU without any plan whatsoever about the people of, for the UK people, citizens, and for us over here in Europe. There is no plan. They've been playing at this for the last 3 years, and quite honestly, the uncertainty is making people very ill over here.
Ana Hernandez is putting her heart and soul into helping her fellow Brits, as she says. The situation is still very uncertain, not only for the residents here, but also for the UK residents. With just about 2 months to go, Ana encourages British residents in Spain to contact Brexpats in order to make their voices heard, or at least to do the best they can.
I said at the start of the video that the UK government needs to show compassion for us. If some of the members that have spoken this morning doesn't make them feel compassionate about us, well, I really don't know what we can do. As it stands, and as I've already said, they're making refugees out of its own citizens. We are still British. We live in an EU country. Our freedom of movement is going to be withdrawn. Our access to healthcare, potentially, pensions, every other worry that we have. We've had, as I said, wonderful support from the British Embassy here and the consulate, but we realise their hands are somewhat tied as well. We do know from day one that the EU had our interests at heart. Guy Verhofstadt said it on many an occasion, and Spain and its autonomous regions also want to help to support us, but we need our rights protecting. We need them ring fencing, because we exercise them in good faith. We moved here with our families to set up businesses, to undertake work here. We did it knowing that our EU treaty rights were transferable and secure. But we need to see action now before it's too late, and that proverbial rug is pulled out from under us all in just over 2 months. And if anybody has liked this video or wants us to help support them, please make contact with us, Brexpats in Spain Association. We have 5 Facebook groups, Brexpats in Spain. We also have a website and emails. Permanently, 24/7 I work on this, so much so that for the last 3 years this has been my life, and I'm not even politically inclined, let's say. I'm not a political animal, but I suppose my aim in life is just to help people, and if I can't help my fellow Brits, then I'm a rather poor example of a British person, I feel. And again, all I can say is thank you so much to Spain for doing this for us.